Okay, so we've got our practice swatch where we've done our garter stitch section, our stockinette section, our rib, 1x1 rib section, and then our seed stitch, and then we added and decreased. We are going to now, we want to end this. Now we can't just pull our needles out, because if we do that, it is not going to stay knit. It will just unravel. So I'm going to show you how to bind. This is called bind off or cast off. So we're going to knit the first stitch. We're going to knit the second stitch. And then we're going to take that first stitch that we knit and we're going to bring it over that second stitch. So that first stitch is locked in place. It's not going to go anywhere. Then we're going to go to our next stitch and we're going to knit it, and we're going to take that stitch and take it over the top. Now there's 2 stitches bound off. And we're going to do that all the way across. Sometimes you might see in a pattern, if you've been, say, doing a rib stitch, and so it's knit, purl all the way across, and it might say bind off in pattern. So that would mean that when you come to like a purl stitch, instead of knitting it, you would purl it and then take that stitch, or take the stitch just like we did before, and close it off. But for this, we're just going to knit all the way across. But that's what, if you see a cast off in pattern, that's what that means. So we're going to go all the way across. Excuse me. Knitting the stitches and then pulling that first stitch over. Just interlocks all of these. And if you're more comfortable doing the purl stitch, you could purl it all the way across. That's totally up to you, whichever you prefer. I just think the knitting is a little easier. Move this around. I don't like that scratching on the video. The noise. There we go. Okay. Now, all of those stitches have been bound off. Now, it's, instead of laying flat like it did here, because we just did the increases and decreases, it's kind of a little funky, but you can see how all these stitches, I'm going to make this loop bigger so I don't lose anything, but you're going to see that all this is bound off. Okay, so it's not going to come unraveled once we secure it here. So since we have acrylic yarn, we need to cut it. If this was a natural fiber, like say wool or something, you can break it, where you can actually just go like this with your fingers and break it. You can't really do that with acrylic yarn. So you're going to cut that. And in this loop, I'm going to take the end of this and snug it up a little bit. I wouldn't do it really, really tight, but snug it up there. And now you have a finished piece. Now the ends need to be woven in, and we'll talk about that later. But for now, you don't need to worry about that. So you've got your little swatch, practice swatch here with all the different ways of doing this. This is a very good reference to keep, I think. That way you can keep track of when you think, oh, what would I like to do if I just want to practice? Or you want to make something. Say you want to make a blanket. You can make a blanket just out of the seed stitch. Or if you like the garter stitch or the stockinette, whatever, you can do that. So there you go. You have learned the basics of knitting. Now we are going to move into the next module, which is we're going to talk about patterns, and we're going to work on our first pattern, which will be fingerless mitts. See you in the next module.